Boa noite! Sei que tem muita gente aí aguardando por essa live, mais do que esperada, por muita gente aí que quer melhorar o seu inglês para a área de tecnologia. E a gente está aqui com uma convidada super especial, uma professora do Cambly com currículo e tanto. Mas antes de mais nada, gente, vou já deixar aqui o código que vocês vão usar para aproveitar a melhor promoção do ano, tá? É um super desconto, planos aí com valor bem pequenininho dos planos de aulas em grupo e dos planos de aulas particulares, para você poder aproveitar os melhores benefícios do Cambly. Então, é só você aqui usar o código para garantir aqui 56% off em qualquer um dos nossos planos anuais, tá? O código aqui, melhor YT, tá? Para você, YouTube, deu para entender, né? A galera aí de dev, ó, inclusive, gente, falando nisso, vocês me ajudem nessa live, mandem as suas perguntas, porque eu não sou da área, eu estou aqui para ajudar vocês nesse contato com a professora Estela, para vocês tirarem o melhor proveito dessa aula que a gente vai estar mostrando aqui para você, com todas as ferramentas do Cambly que vão te ajudar a chegar aí nos seus objetivos e todas as dicas de uma profissional internacional que vai te ajudar a melhorar os seus English skills para conquistar os seus objetivos na área de tecnologia que está bombando. Então, sem mais delongas, aproveitem aqui, já anota o código e vem comigo. Vamos chamar a professora Estela aqui para dentro e bora começar essa live, meu povo. Então, Tutor Stella, how are you? Thank you for being here with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just telling people here in Portuguese that you have this amazing trajectory in the technology field. And I would like to ask you, since you're here, to share a little bit about your experience in the IT.
Sure. Well, I've worked in IT for my whole career since I graduated with a computer science degree many years ago. So I initially started off as a software developer, and then over the years did the team lead role, moved up into project manager, delivery manager, business analyst. So I've worked in many different roles. I currently work as a security consultant, so I've been working in the IT area for many years.
And you also worked in a lot of different countries as well, right?
I did. When early in my career, I worked in Japan for about 5 years, and then I worked in Silicon Valley in California for 5 years before coming back to Ireland. And I've worked in Ireland since then. But in my consulting roles, I would have, worked on projects in Korea, in the UK, and in France. So I've worked all over the world, really.
Yeah, and well, how do you think English plays its part in this? You always have been working on English, or you have to adapt to each country, to each own language?
Well, when I started out, I was working in Japan, and I was in a Japanese environment. So obviously that was true Japanese, but really English is the language of commerce and of business, IT now. It doesn't matter what your work situation is or what country you're working in. It's very common that IT teams are made up of developers from all over the world, and more the common language of communication is English. A lot of the tools that we use, the IT documentation, groups that IT developers use to support their work are all based in English and written in English. And so English is really key for people who want to work in the IT industry.
And you also, when we are talking about how English have this major importance, it's also about, do you feel like speaking or writing or being able to read in English? Which do you think is like the most important skills for you to improve on?
I think they're all important, and lifelong learning is absolutely key in the IT industry, because everything's changing all the time, and you have to be constantly on the ball. So reading is essential, but on a day-to-day basis, it's speaking, because they're in the early days of IT, people, developers would work on their own in their cubicles, and they have this image of being introverted and not needing to talk to many people. But in recent years, the agile method is how people work and develop and deliver projects, and it requires more team-based working environments. So being able to speak English, being able to describe what your work, being able to discuss problems or issues, being able to ask for help, all of that, these are all key for working in the IT environment, and that definitely English is required.
Yeah, most definitely. And you also told me something very curious about being that you just mentioned also that long run learning, the long term running. What did you say again?
Lifelong learning.
Lifelong learning, right?
Lifelong learning. Yeah. And it's become really critical now that people in the IT industry, in every probably career, but very definitely in IT, software and products are released so often, and every time a new product comes along, you have to learn. You have to go on, and all that learning is all online. You've got loads of fantastic online sites providing all those learning materials, like LinkedIn and Udemy and all these other places. So, and then Cambly has a place to play there in lifelong learning also. But they all work together, all these tools, and in the IT industry, all those tools are definitely in English, and English is the language through which you access all of these tools and skills that you need to do your work.
We have a question here from Gislaine Carvalho. Gislaine, thank you for bringing up your question. So she's saying, working with global teams is always challenging because of the time zones, culture, English accents. What do you feel about English accents, Stella?
Yes, I absolutely agree that's got to be a massive challenge. I mean, English is spoken by so many countries around the world. You've got the UK and Ireland and Canada and America and South Africa and Australia and New Zealand, and they're just the main ones. I think for listening, I mean, Cambly has that amazing thing where you can pick a tutor from whatever country that you feel you need to practice your listening skills on. If you're in Brazil but you're working with a lot of Canadians, you should probably be looking for Canadian tutors, to try and get your ear tuned, what I call tuning your ear, so that you start to hear. One of the biggest problems in the IT arena is there is a lot of non-native English speakers as well, which adds even more complexity to if you're working for a German company and you're listening to and often there's a high proportion of Indian software developers all across the world, and they also come with a strong English accent. And that's why I say to people, to focus on communication and good communication, and good communication is just about, getting your pronunciation right, getting your grammar right, and really speaking simply and communicating clearly. I think that is all you can do. I mean, I would never say you have to speak in a certain accent. I don't think the accent's so important as long as you're speaking clearly and you can communicate well.
I think that's very comforting for people to know. And also, I don't know if you teach on Cambly Groups, because, pessoal, I will translate a little bit here. Pessoal, aqui a gente está tendo uma referência de uma aula particular. Se você não conhece o Cambly, isso é o que você estaria tendo, que eu estou tendo aqui com a professora Estela, é o que você estaria tendo numa experiência de aula particular. Mas como ela acabou de falar, é muito importante também você se expor a esses diferentes sotaques e culturas. E por isso que é esse novo lançamento do Cambly, que é o Cambly Group, que é onde você tem sempre uma aula com um tutor nativo te direcionando a aula, dando os tópicos, fazendo as devidas correções, mas sempre você e até 2 outras pessoas de diferentes partes do Brasil e do mundo tendo aulas em grupo ali com você, com esse tutor nativo. Então, para você treinar esses diferentes acentos, essas diferenças culturais que a Gislene trouxe aqui, enriquece muito o seu aprendizado. Então, aqui no Cambly agora a gente tem esses 2 planos e todos eles estão aqui com um super desconto para você aproveitar. Stella, I was talking about Cambly Groups, which is this new launch that we have, that people can have this exact experience that you were sharing, that to try different accents in foreign accents, not native English speakers accents, right? So it's also a great way for you. We have another question here from Paulo. Paulo, thank you for bringing up your question. So, teacher, what is the most important certified that I want to get to work with IT in US? I think like a certification, or like I think, Paulo, maybe IELTS or TOEFL that you're making?
It will. IELTS if a company requests that, but not all of them do. Like I have met with students who get jobs in English-speaking countries in the UK or America, whatever, without a certification and without a test. What happens in those situations is that they usually have a fairly long interview with a HR representative.
Okay.
And the HR representative will determine if their communication skills are sufficiently good for them then to move to a second interview with an IT manager, or depending on the job that they're applying for. So the certificates aren't always required. It really is down to a company to decide whether they require cert or not.
So that's why it's important for you to train the communication in job interviews more than to have to concern with the certificate. And Paulo here, it's interesting to work in the US apparently, but you are from Ireland, and as far as I know, Ireland has like this huge opportunities for people working in IT, right?
Yeah, it's one of the areas in which Ireland has open visa access. If you have IT skills, and you have an IT background, you can access jobs in Ireland. The visa are available in the area of IT, and there are a lot of open positions in Ireland. It's definitely an employee market at the moment. So
galera, vocês sabiam disso, dessa super dica? And Stella, why do you think Ireland is now one of the hotspots for IT professionals?
Well, it is. One of the reasons is that a lot of multinational IT companies have headquartered in Ireland, primarily because we're an English-speaking country and we belong to the European Union. Since Brexit, we're the only English-speaking country in the European Union, so it's become even more important as a base for Canadian, American, Australian companies looking for a foothold in Europe. You'll often find them in Ireland and setting up their European headquarters here.
That's amazing. I've been to Dublin recently, and I saw like Facebook, the like IBM, like a lot of like those majors that I wouldn't expect to find. So like
a lot of the very, very big software companies, you know, Twitter, Indeed, Facebook, Microsoft, they're all here, and they've got very big operations here, you know, thousands of employees.
Good. And we have another question from Paulo. Paulo, thank you. Hi, girls. The thing that I want to know about is the what global companies take for granted as the most important while hiring someone in IT. So let me think. Let me read it again. Did you get it?
Yeah, what's the most important skill, I guess, skill or characteristics an international company looks for when hiring people in IT? Communication, your ability to communicate. You know, it's not just a language issue. You could have perfect English and still not be able to communicate well. It's you know, that ability to in IT to communicate what you're doing, to communicate what your code, how your code works, to communicate what a product how it should behave, to work with stakeholders and customers to understand their needs and translate that into a software product. It all comes down to communication.
Mm-hmm. And I thought about this with Paulo's questions. Like, do you feel like that IT companies are more open to foreigners than other working fields, professional fields?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, well, in my experience, we're here working in Ireland. I've always worked in international teams. There are people from all over the world on the teams that I've worked on over the years, and it is working in IT. It's such a mobile career choice. You know, you can, with IT skills, you can go anywhere and work anywhere, and you can work. You know, you can even, you know, take your laptop with you and go when you go on holidays and still be at work. You know, it's so mobile and absolutely international. Absolutely. I mean, I've worked on with teams where you've got one guy coming in from Seattle and another guy, a couple of people coming in from different locations in the UK. You know, I work out of my house in Ireland. I've been to the office 3 times since the start of COVID, since March 2020. You know, I never go near it. I work with people I've never met face to face, but I work and talk to them every day. So
that became more current.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And Stella, do you have a lot of students on Cambly that look forward to improving their English skills because of their jobs in technology?
Yes.
They come to you,
and they all have different. They all have different reasons.
Please.
Sorry, there's a little delay there for a minute. I didn't catch that, Manuel.
No, I was just like, they come from you asking specific things or help or.
Many just want to be to improve their current roles and are maybe looking ahead to a promotion or a team lead or a project manager role, where they might have to start presenting, maybe, you know, at status meetings, and maybe the boss or the boss's boss is dialing in from Germany or from America, from Canada, and they know that they'll have to speak more English in those meetings. And many others are maybe looking for new jobs, they're looking to, you know, move on to a new situation, and they feel that to get a better salary, to get a broader experience, that they want to work for international companies.
Which
and then there's Yeah, and then there's others that maybe they're looking to go back to college, or looking to study or do a master's abroad through English, so they're looking to pass those tests that are required for studying abroad. So there's lots of different, they're all IT students, but they all have their own reasons for working on their English.
And besides all the freedom that you have on Cambly here, we haven't used the chat yet, but like you can write stuff, share websites with them, share articles to read during the classes, right? Which are very helpful tools. And here in Cambly, you're not restricted in anyhow to get your goals, to get where you need to go, right?
No, Cambly has I can share screens within the Cambly windows, share screens, but also Cambly has quite a nice collection of lesson plans focused for people who work in IT, both at a manager level and at a developer level. And there's quite a lot of content in there that can help focus learning for IT professionals. So, you know, if someone's not so sure, you kind of, you know, you want, or maybe a shy or isn't so confident about speaking English, using the lesson plans is a great way to just tease out and get talking and start using the vocabulary. And that's the other thing. IT people have a lot of work-related vocabulary that they know and use every day while doing their jobs, but they're maybe not in the habit of verbalizing, of speaking the English. And so to try and get people just using the English they already know, those English words, the lesson plans are very useful for that. Just to get
share
moving.
One and try me out and I will explain them. Então, pessoal, se vocês não conhecem super bem o Cambly ainda, o que a professora Estela acabou de explicar é que nos planos de aulas particulares aqui, como eu estou tendo com ela agora, além de toda essa possibilidade, como eu falei, de você compartilhar links, arquivos, coisas assim, no próprio plano particular das aulas particulares do Cambly, você pode usar os materiais didáticos disponíveis na nossa biblioteca de curso, que é 100% incluso no seu plano. Quando você assina o seu plano de aulas no Cambly, já vem com esses cursos totalmente acoplados ali na sua biblioteca para você usar e abusar quanto você quiser. Então, agora a gente vai fazer uma aulinha aqui. Eu não sou web developer, so I may be like failing a little bit here on the lesson, but I will do my best.
Yeah, I just picked this one. This is an English. This is one of there's let me see, there's about 12 lesson plans here that make up English for software developers. I just picked this one, describing software. It's at an intermediate level. It's made up of 15 slides. All the lesson plans have a similar structure. They start with a cover page, then we'll go into a little bit of
during the live it's
a little bit.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of things at the same time, so but we can do it.
Yeah, so they usually have a little bit of vocabulary, introduce a little bit of vocabulary, and then you do some practice with that vocabulary, then you do a little bit of grammar, and then you go into a conversation about how to use the vocabulary and what the student might understand or not understand. So these are very, very useful just to get the ball rolling, just to get people comfortable to start speaking using the vocabulary they already know, which is a lot more usually than they realize.
Yes. That's great on Cambly, that you kind of realize that you know much more than you actually think you do. Yeah, right.
Absolutely, because if you're working in IT, you're working all of your programming languages, a lot of your documentations, you're working in English to a large extent. The only thing you're not doing is speaking.
Yes.
So
we have like this setting the class, and then we move forward to some exercises and grammars and things like that. So it's a very good.
Do you want me to flip? Will I move forward through a few more slides?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Pessoal, vocês querem continuar vendo aqui? Tem mais alguma pergunta? So some warm-up questions.
These are great to get conversation going. Sometimes with students who have a little bit more conversation, we can spend a lot of time just on this slide.
Yes, I can imagine. If it was on my field, I probably wouldn't even like move forward to the next question. Okay.
Yeah, really. So then here's some of the vocabulary that, that is just used in the software industry a lot.
And then we can practice some sentence with that kind of vocabulary in my job. Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of exercises and stuff.
A lot of over and back and a lot of practice. Yeah.
Very hands-on.
So you can take it slow or as quick as suits the student. Some people can move quite quickly through these slides, and for others it might take them a little longer. And usually that's just confidence. Confidence, just need to build up a little confidence. It's quite common.
And you can, so just for people to know, like, why are you showing? You can keep showing, Stella, while I try to explain a little bit in Portuguese. Então, pessoal, isso aqui é o que eu estou tendo a experiência com a Stella, como eu falei, é o curso das aulas particulares, em que o professor pode compartilhar todo esse material didático, que vocês estão vendo aí, tem muita prática, tem muita proposição, tem muito vocabulário, leitura, coisas assim, que está tudo 100% incluso no seu plano de aulas particulares, que está aí, todos os planos anuais estão com super desconto, e esse é um pouco o exemplo que ela está passando aqui para a gente, de materiais que ela usa durante as aulas, conforme a necessidade e o desejo de cada aluno. Então, como ela falou, tem alguns alunos que vão mais rápidos, mais acelerados, por isso tem outros alunos que ficam mais tempo no mesmo slide, aproveitando, absorvendo bastante conteúdo, e você que decide, na sua aula particular, você que decide esse tempo. Então, it's a very helpful material for you to use it. And does anyone have any other question for today's Stella? Please send it over. We're already on the end of our live. Time flies. So now it's the time, people. So we have one here from Paulo Ricardo. Paulo, thank you for sending your question. Okay, so he's asking, what's the minimum level do you think the companies should require from developers? B1, B2, C1?
Yeah.
Stella, sorry.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Could you just now maybe decline the class so we have your screen spider for us?
Hide the material.
Yes, thank you.
There we go. Yes. In a lot of companies, we don't have we don't have that grading system of people's English ability that I think I hear a lot from people who are studying English about, oh, I'm a B1 or I'm a C2 or whatever. I don't hear much about that, and it's definitely not. There's no specific grade that a company's required. They're not looking for people at a certain level. The quality of your communication and your English will usually be assessed by a HR department and an interview process.
Okay, so that's why you have to build
Some
your confidence.
Some companies, maybe bigger companies or companies that might get a lot of applicants from non-native English speakers, might look for a certification, an English certification, like the universities do, a TEFL or an IELTS. But usually, in my experience, it's the HR department in that first touch point with the company that if they're not understanding you, you won't get past them.
Okay, and in these bigger companies, do you think a B2 or a B1 should be fine, or should it have like a C2 level?
I think it should be fine. But if a company has decided to set a guideline, I think you would have to match it to get past, to get into the interview process.
Okay.
But my personal opinion,
okay,
it might not always be.
That's kind of a relief, I guess, because like I've always been very bad on doing tasks. Like, so.
Yeah, no, I know, and it's not a good judge of a person's ability to do their job or even to communicate well. Yeah, I agree. It's not. I don't like tests. So.
We have a question here from Jefferson, but I think this one is on me because about Cambly's platform. So Jefferson wants to know if the software developer plan is available on Cambly to our students. So let me rephrase that in Portuguese so for them to understand clear. Então, Jefferson, e pessoal aí que ficou com dúvida, esse curso que eu acabei de mostrar, que eu usei aqui com a professora Estela, que é desenvolvido especialmente para software developers, é um dos muitos cursos que a gente tem no Cambly, dentro dos planos de aulas particulares, que você pode fazer uso. É uma biblioteca de cursos que tem para software developers, tem para quem quer treinar para TOEFL e para IELTS, tem para quem quer inglês para viagem. É uma biblioteca bastante diversa, com esse material bastante rico, que daí serve como base para enriquecer o seu conhecimento em determinada área a partir desse material. Mas você não precisa adquirir ele ou comprar ele por fora. Então, ele está aí disponível para todos os estudantes do Cambly, dos planos de aulas particulares. Deu para entender melhor, Jefferson? Nossa equipe também está aí respondendo vocês pelo chat, mas esses são os planos. E no caso das aulas em grupo, vocês também têm materiais didáticos disponíveis, mas são outros temas, outras temáticas, não do software developers. E todos esses planos estão aí com 56% off para você aproveitar. Todos os nossos planos anuais, só usar o código aqui da nossa live e lá no link que está na descrição e fazer a sua inscrição para aproveitar todos os benefícios do plano de aulas particulares e do plano de aulas em grupo. So, Stella, we have a lot to offer here on Cambly, as you know, as a tutor. So sometimes it's hard to explain. Like people sometimes don't believe, like, only for that a month, like I only pay this by month and I can have all this access and all the courses. Like, it doesn't really seem real. So sometimes it's tricky to explain it all, I guess. So people, do you have any other questions? Pessoal, vocês têm mais alguma pergunta? It's time to wrap it up. But I'm very excited. I would keep going. Stella, and on your end, do you feel like you could you want to add any other info, any other thing that you might remember about this English in the tech field?
Yeah, I just want to say that, you know, people who are working in IT and have worked in IT for a long time, you have a lot of vocabulary. I think people don't realize how much English they already know because, you know, when you're writing code, you're writing in English. You know, all the documentation's in English, so you're reading English. A lot of the supporting materials and videos are all through English. So people, for many of the students I work with, it's confidence. It's confidence that it starts to flow. And once they start talking, the confidence improves so quickly, and they start using words that they know, but just haven't needed to verbalize or to speak those words, but they know the English already. And so I would encourage people to just start talking, to start speaking English, and they will maybe even surprise themselves at how quickly they will learn and improve.
That's amazing. I think that's a great way to finish our live here, because it builds confidence in people to just start and just do it, right?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's start talking.
And Stella, for people to find you on Cambly, just simply add your name, right? On the search bar. You have your schedule open. People can book.
I have hours available. I have a schedule set up. It's maybe I usually have it about 2 weeks out. So you can, if you can't grab me this week, hopefully you'll find a slot next week.
That's amazing. So thank you so much. Let me see if I have one last question. Do we have people maybe be shy? That's your last chance. Okay, we do have one last question. So for Fabio, Fabio is asking, what is the plan, Cambly plan that it's more suitable for someone with intermediate English? So I think that's a very personal choice. But Stella, do you have a lot of intermediate students on your private?
I have a lot. Yeah. In fact, I would say most of my students are intermediate students. As people who speak English but want to speak English better feel that they are struggling in some way. And most of the material, there's a lot of material, those lesson plans, that lesson plan I just showed, that's an intermediate level lesson plan. But also for intermediate, I find can be very broad.
Yeah.
Which end of the intermediate are you? So it would be for the tutor and the student to decide between them what they need. And, the lesson plans can help understand where the student might be or what level they're at. But Cambly is a site where you can sort of manage your own learning. I mean, if you want to come to class because you have to give a presentation next week and you want to practice it, that's fine. That's fine. Or you're working on something, some reading material, or you're struggling with some element of your work, you bring it to Cambly, bring it to your tutor, and they'll work it with you through whatever that exercise is. So that's the nice thing about Cambly, is it's very interactive. And you can manage at an intermediate level. You probably know what you need, you know what area you need to work on, and you come and work with tutors on what your needs are. So, like Manuela said, it can be very personal.
Yes, thank you so much, Stella. That was a great tip as well. And thank you so much for being here. I've learned a lot. So I think people from IT, as you have learned even more than I did. So thank you so much. And
no problem.
I'm sure people will reach out to you, and I will definitely be talking to you again. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. E pessoal, eu vou ficar agora aqui um pouquinho com vocês, porque eu estou sentindo que vocês estão muito animados para começar o seu plano aqui no Cambly. Eu vou explicar então um pouquinho melhor sobre as diferenças entre os planos de aulas particulares e os planos de aulas em grupo. Essa experiência que eu acabei de ter aqui com a tutora Stella, para trazer elas bem pertinho de vocês, foi exatamente como seria uma aula particular. No caso, eu não teria vocês aqui me mandando perguntas, seria só eu e ela, mas eu poderia ter esse acesso a essas lições. Como eu expliquei aqui, isso é uma das lições disponíveis, um dos currículos, como a gente chama aqui, 100% gratuito dentro do seu plano de aulas particulares. Então, toda essa experiência aqui que eu tive foi uma experiência de aula particular. Aí, Fábio, né? Foi o Fábio que me perguntou se para ele, que está no nível intermediário, é melhor o plano de aulas em grupo ou o plano de aulas particulares. Fábio, fica realmente a seu critério. Se você gostou dessa experiência, você está aí, como a tutora Estela falou, buscando coisas muito específicas, aprendizados muito específicos, ou você sabe, já tem um feeling ali no que você precisa trabalhar, e para isso você precisa de uma atenção de um tutor particular, você encontra no seu plano de aulas particulares tutores como a professora Estela, que tem um background na sua área de atuação. No caso aqui, a gente está com muito pessoal de IT, né? Mas de repente tem pessoal aqui de design também, vocês vão encontrar pessoal de design, ou seja lá do que área for, você tem muitas opções no seu plano de aulas particulares para escolher a dedo ali o tutor que você quer fazer, que vai estar mais de acordo com a especialidade, com o tema que você precisa trabalhar, e para isso você tem diversos recursos dentro do seu plano de aulas particulares para isso. Mas você sendo uma pessoa de intermediário, avançado, e você quer ter essa outra experiência que a gente comentou aqui na live também, de estar trabalhando diferentes sotaques, numa dinâmica assim de meeting, que você precisa entender e interagir com mais de uma pessoa ao mesmo tempo, ganhar essa confiança para poder explorar e apresentar as suas ideias num ambiente mais variado de sotaques, de culturas. O Cambly Groups vai ser também uma excelente ferramenta para você, vai te ajudar a criar essa imersão e a construir essa confiança para você estar nesse universo internacional, multicultural, com diferentes sotaques e habilidades ali numa mesma dinâmica. E lembrando que nas aulas em grupo aqui do Cambly sempre tem um tutor nativo te orientando, fazendo as correções, criando a dinâmica entre os participantes, e são aulas muito com grupos bem pequenos para você ter sempre muito tempo de prática. Então, é você, o tutor nativo da sua escolha ali, de algum país da língua inglesa, e até 2 outras pessoas de diferentes partes do Brasil e do mundo. Então, vai mesmo ali, Fábio, do seu feeling, do que você acha que você está mais precisando. Ou então, gente, é o que eu falo aqui, gente, com a melhor promoção do ano, aproveita 56% off e faz 2 planos, assina 2 planos, e você vai estar pagando 2 planos e não está nem pagando o preço de um. Então, assim, eu particularmente acho que esse é o momento de você dar essa investida, né? É o melhor preço do ano real, dá essa investida em você, assina 2 planos e faz a melhor experiência. Se não, dá uma olhadinha aí no nosso link, que está disponível aí na nossa descrição, lê um pouquinho, 5 minutos de leitura ali, você já vai conseguir fazer uma escolha mais acertada para as suas necessidades. E vale lembrar que aqui no Cambly a gente tem 7 dias, tá? Para você experimentar. Se inscreve hoje, aproveita a promoção, aproveita aqui o nosso código para você adquirir o seu plano com valor promocional, tá? Então, vai aparecer aqui na tela para você. E aí, você se inscreve hoje e você tem 7 dias para usar o seu plano, tá? Você usa com um precinho aí bonito para você. Usa, faz as suas aulas, explora a plataforma, explora as ferramentas. E se por acaso, dentro desses 7 dias corridos, você mudar de ideia ou sentir que você talvez até gostaria de um outro plano, você pode pedir o cancelamento, você vai ser reembolsado integralmente, e aí, ou você ajusta, ou então, mas eu tenho certeza que você vai gostar, eu tenho certeza que independente ali do plano, você vai ver como tem muitas ferramentas e muita qualidade de ensino dentro da nossa plataforma. Então, muito obrigada pela presença de todos vocês, e eu sigo aqui em mais lives pelo nosso Instagram, então é só acompanhar tudo nosso aqui, beleza? Então, até a próxima, pessoal. Muito obrigada. Tchau, tchau.